Hello and good evening. Sorry for this edition. Here are the top stories. National Assembly first sitting of the second ordinary session. In Sudan, schools drop out against the background of poverty. Those were the top stories. Thanks for joining us in our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margili, issued a presidential decree classifying the Army Fruit movement as a terrorist group. According to this decree, members of the army forces of Fruit and anyone who contributed directly or indirectly to the activities of this group will be subject to the criminal penalties in the national anti-terror legislation. This decree shall enter into force from the moment of its issuance. Today, the 3rd of October, the 13th, sorry, of October, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mohammed Ali Ahmed, preside over the first sessions of second regular session in the presence of the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed and all the deputies and minister. These sessions aims to discuss draft law number 174 for the year 2022, issued by the eight of legislators regarding the classification of the Army Fruit movement as a terrorist group. During the session, the President of the National Assembly, Mohammed Ali Ahmed, sent his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims who fell into the attack. The National Assembly adopted bills of 170 for the year 2022, issued by the eight legislature unanimously. The President of the National Assembly, Mr. Muhammad Ali Ahmed, delivered a speech at the outset welcoming the member of the parliament and the government participating in the second regular session of the National Assembly. He said, "Welcome to all of you in the second sitting of the parliamentary body, which is a special session where we are evaluating the draft law number 170 that came out in the year 2022 on the 8th Parliament, which is a draft law that makes an army group a terrorist group, who are brutally attacked by some of the soldiers who were stationed in the surrounding areas, taking advantage of this opportunity." He said, "I offer my condolences to the families of the soldiers who died in the attacks, who were a martyr for the nation. The House of People is representative is also entitled to stand by the nation and the forces of our country," he concluded. The Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed in his speech expressed his warm condolence to the families of the victims of the army forces following the terrorist attack carried out by the terrorists from, he said, he reiterated on behalf of his colleague the sadness, condolence to the families of the victims, and prayed to Allah to receive the martyrs in their eternal paradise and to strengthen the patience and faith for the families and the mission endure. In the second part of his speech, on the other hand, Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed asked the deputies to adopt this legal project to reduce the danger, such as a law qualifying the terrorist group movement. In his speech, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed declared the rejection and condemnations of the terrorist attack. He explained the overall strategies of government, marked the expected impact of Law 170, display solidarity with the National Army, and he expressed his condolence to the victims. The member of the parliament officially gave the vote of confidence to the draft law number 7 and 170, which determines to combat and prevent terrorist groups. The members of the The Chinese government strongly demonstrates and condemns the terrorism in the Republic of Djibouti. This is what the international media tells the speakers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the Chinese government, which is the new carried to the international press. The spokesman of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in China has signed the government of the President Xi Jinping to support the state of the Republic of Djibouti. As part of the Maximum Alert Tiger on August 6, 2022, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Army Forces, gathered on October 12 and 13, 2022 at the Shah Osman Parade Ground near all the personnels and means of the corps and formations of the Djibouti garrison, as well as the units of the National Police and Coast Guard. The order of this gathering were given late in the evening of October 11 during a strategy meeting of the utmost importance between the Chief of the General Staff of the Army Forces and the Senior Executive of the Defense and Security Forces. The objective of this mass gathering was to test the effectiveness of the alert system put in place, as well as the responsiveness of the main to respond to the calls as soon as possible. As part of this operational control, General Zakaria campaign by the Chief of the Defense Staff, General Tahir Ali Mohammed, and the Deputy Chief of Defense Staff, Colonel Major Mohammed Qayad Gili, reviewed the entire system composed of the corps and formation of the Djiboutian Army, units of the National Police and Coast Guard. All the organic of specific means were also inspected in order to verify their operationality. The objective of this operational the conditioning was to enable everyone, regardless of their position within the forces, to acquire a level of physical and mental preparation adapted to the specificities and constraints of their job and their mission.
تغي الوادي مركيان عسكري قلا عرليجي نولينا هاي إبا وقدرتون وقدا حساري تغي الوادي مركيان عسكري قلا عرليجي نولينا غي يبقوا قدرتون وقدا حساري أنا غيتير لاير كذا أنا غي عديقة خاتمت أنا غي عرقو كم أنا غيتير لاير كذا أنا غي عديقة خاتمت أنا غي سفلابا عفلانا غي قسي آمنا نغي يمدي ذلكانا غي أولوليو دبانا غي أنكود إيو علبانا غي بقانا هاي سفلابا أفلانا هاي قسي آمنا نغاي اندي ذلكانا هاي عبر يوم اسبانو يدات كوي ماكرو عبر يوم اسبانو يدات كوي ماكرو عبغا دلكينيو هو اني غايتالين عرمها كصبحة كأتكينا يا نغي عبر يوم اسبانو
Subsequently, the Chief of the General Staff of the Army Forces carefully checked the Djiboutian naval resources mainly engaged in maritime and coastal surveillance mission after the military honors. The Captain Hani Abdurrahman, commander of the Air Crew of Djibouti National Navy, welcomed the Chief of the General Staff of the Army Forces and the brood of the P-22 patrol boats, commonly called the warrant officials Ali Ahmed, in memory of this brave character. During a detailed presentation on the means of the number of seagoing personnel as well as materials demonstration, it is demonstrated that with the acquisition of new seagoing means, the French Navy can ensure the defense of territorial water from the Strait from the Bab el Mandeb to the Gulf of Aden, armed with the latest generation of means of defense, detection, and interceptions that can contain all maritime threat. In addition to its defense mission, the MND has tactical logistics transport support capability to dismiss and supply land forces during possible deployment. Recent events require to the Navy to strengthen itself further, to increase its vigilance, and to be ready to intervene in any time. The Djiboutian Air Forces, under the orders of the Colonel Wahib Musa, was also the subject of this inspection, both personally and materially. The the Chief of the General Staff of the Army Forces attach particular importance to the air component of the Army, giving the important role it plays in the search for and pursuit of criminals in the western border area disparate.
askarigala carligaynu leenahay eba ugu dhaartoon ogada xilsaaraye tahay ilwaadi markiyan askari gala carligaynu leenahay eba ugu dhaartoon ogada xilsaaraye
Following this multiple inspection, the General of the Jewish Army will decide to adopt a reinforcement plan for the benefit of the Joint Regiment of Tajora and the Corps commander of the armed regiment presented to the General Staff of the Army Forces and the two units of the CEO ready to leave the capital immediately to join the maneuver area to carry out this mission. They will carry with them all the necessary materials, means this reinforcement of the Corps of the Interior Region and the aerial maneuvers of the border area with Ethiopia represent the first step of the Djiboutian army to find the mission border in the arms and eradicate the threat in this area. Other news now. His Excellency the Minister of Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Hassan Hamad Ibrahim, chaired today at the Civil Aviation Headquarters in Djibouti the closing ceremony of the Training Airport Security Men in Djibouti from the 6th of September to 13th of this month, October. The ceremony witnessed the participation of the Minister of Infrastructure and Equipment, the Director General for the Civil Aviation, the French embassy in charge of the affair in Djibouti, the chief of the staff of the National Gendarmerie, the French Internal Security, and the Director General for Djibouti International Airport were present in this meeting. For the first time, this training is organized in Djibouti, where this training, which lasted for 6 weeks, witnessed the participation of 4 people of foreign nationalities in addition to the Djiboutian training. This training allowed all the participants to acquire the necessary knowledge in terms of security procedures and control in the aviation sector, legal framework for security, procedures for inspections of the person and transport objected and the handling address at the different access point, principles and techniques, the images analysis without losing sight of control and inspection, the inspection of foreigns and mail, all in accordance with the standards and practices recommended by the International Civil Aviation Organization with regard to the Djiboutian training, the presence of civil aviation inspector, those responsible for quality control agent of the airport security department, and they're responsible for the implementing security measure. They will all be equal in terms of knowledge and will thus work in concern to raise the rate of effective implementation of the safety control system in the Republic of Djibouti. In turn, the Minister of Infrastructure and Equipment, he thanked in his speech the French cooperative for its support in organizing these training courses. He expressed in his speech the satisfaction.
Première fois cette formation en dehors de le lac à Toulouse. Toutes les différentes actions menées entrent dans le cadre de la stratégie gouvernementale de développer les secteurs de l'aéronautique en ayant renforcé dans un premier temps l'autorité de l'aviation civile, en conduisant actuellement la certification de notre compagnie nationale et surtout les projets de construction d'un nouvel aéroport à Biidli. Ce type de formation tendra à se multiplier à l'avenir. Pour finir, j'adresse mes sincères félicitations à l'ensemble des stagiaires, aux instructeurs ayant délivré les différents modules de cette formation et un grand merci aux organisateurs.
In the assembly, the member of the parliament have officially give their votes of confidence to the draft law number 170 and 2022, which determines to combat and prevention of the terrorist groups. The member of parliament approve all the draft law with a standing vote. The Minister of Economic and Finance in charge of industry, Ilyas Musa Dewale, headed Djibouti delegation participating in the annual meeting on the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which will be held in the American capital during the period from the 10th to 16th of October. The International Monitoring of the Financial Community will discuss the agenda of the Director General of the International Monetary Fund on global policies, issued of global concern and challenges, including the high inflation rates, tightening global financial condition, and the food insecurity crisis. Under the patronage of the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hiba Mumin Asowe, an event dedicated to the launch of the activities of National and African Youth Month was organized under the high patronage of the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hiba Mumin Asowe, in Bawadi Mall. This event took place in the presence of the Minister Delegate in charge of digital economy and innovation, Ms. Safia Mohammed Ali, the Minister of State in charge of investment and private sector development, the coordinator of UN agency in Djibouti, Vice President of the National Union of Djiboutian Women, Hasna Hamad Bilil, and Director General of the National Agency for Persons with Disability, Director of the Sheraton Hotel, Advisor to the Director of the Keg Bank, were present in this gathering. The organization of this day aims to create a dynamic, conducive to revitalizing activities that promote youth activity and entrepreneurship in the Republic of Djibouti. The Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe, in her speech indicate that the Ministry of Youth contribute to the unwavering effort aimed at supporting entrepreneurship. According to the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe, the organization of this open day for the sale of exhibition products in the mall, which is part of the activities of the National and African Youth Month, aim to encourage young Djiboutian entrepreneurs, youth dynamism in one of the pillars of promoting the social and economic integration of the youth in particular, and the policy of combating unemployment in Djibouti in general, in accordance with the strategies of government under the leadership of His Excellency the President of the Republic, Ismail Margili, and within the vision of His Excellency to strengthen the private sector by creating business. And now moving on to the international scenes in Sudan. Each year, torrential rains destroy schools. This year, 600 establishments were damaged in Sudan, and it's 12.4 million students, ranked second among countries with the most fragile school system, according to the Risk Education Index ranking. 1 in 3 children does not go to school, are alarmed by the humanitarian organization with the worsening school, the socioeconomic situation, recurrent conflict and prolonged schools closure. Children are dropping out of the schools, and the chance of girls and boys returning are low. This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful evening.